Hello guys, and welcome back after the break. So we're basically discussing distance and how to calculate distance on a topographical map and on an orthophoto map. Now first of all, we've got a formula to use. Now keep in mind, the reason why we will be able to do this is because the maps consist of a scale. Now if you look at our topographical map, it consists of a scale of 1 to 50,000. Now the formula that we're going to use over here is straightforward. If I want my answer in kilometers, now keep in mind we use the unit of measurements of kilometers and meters because we are in South Africa. So if I want my answer to calculate my answer in kilometers, I take my centimeters between the 1 point and another point and I times it with 0.5. That's my formula. And I will get my answer in kilometers. For example, if I ask you to calculate the distance from spot height 100 to the church on a topographical map, you take your ruler, you measure the distance between the two areas as such. There's from there to there, that gives me 24 centimeters. So you write down 24 centimeters times 0.5. Let's quickly calculate that calculation. 24 times 0.5. And your answer is 12 kilometers. And that's how easy it is. So you calculate the distance, measure the distance between the spot height and the church, and we got 24 centimeters. And that leads to 12 kilometers, times it with 0.5, and you got your answer in 12 kilometers. Now, if the question asks to calculate the distance in meters, you measure the centimeters and your formula is 500 and you will get your answer in meters. Now let's quickly do another example. Let's say for instance I ask you to go and calculate the distance between the post office to the windmill. You measure the distance from the post office to the windmill. Wind pump is 30 centimeters. So we say 30 centimeters times 500 50 times 500, and I'll get my answer is 1500. Let's just have a look over there. 15,000 meters. And that's how you get the correct answer to measure kilometers and meters on a topographical map. Now, very importantly over here, with an orthophoto is completely different, because on an orthophoto, what's our scale? 1 to 10,000. So in reality, our orthophoto is bigger than our topographical map. In order to get our answer, the distance being calculated in kilometers in an orthophoto, once again you measure the distance from point A to point B and you use a formula of 0.1 and then you will get an answer in kilometers. So let's say for instance I ask you to go and calculate the distance between, let's say, the school to Trick beacon number 14. Use your ruler. You measure the distance from the school to Trick beacon 14. As you can see, it's 24.5 centimeters from the school to Trick beacon 14. So it's 24.5 times 0.1. Let's do the calculation. It's 24.5 times 0.1, and my answer is going to be 2.45 kilometers. Now, to get the correct answer in meters, you measure the distance between the one point to another point, and you times it with your formula is 100. So let's say, for instance, the question states, measure the distance between, let's say, the shop to the police station. You use your ruler. You measure the distance between the two from there to there, and I get 12 centimeters. So it's 12 centimeters times 100. Go to your calculator. 12 times 100 equals 1,200 meters. And that's how you calculate distance on a topographical map and an orthophoto map. Now let's use a real map as an example to calculate the distance. Now, very importantly, grade 12s, keep in mind, make sure what your question asks from you. When they ask you to calculate a distance from the orthophoto in kilometers, you use the formula of 0.1. If they ask to calculate the distance on the orthophoto in meters, you use 100. And on a topographical map, you're going to use the formulas of 0.5 for kilometers and 500 for meters. Now let's just quickly have a look at our first. Let's say, for instance, the question paper asks you, calculate the distance from Trick beacon 352 all the way to the church over there. Now the question states, calculate the distance from Trick beacon 352 to the church. Now obviously, what map are we using? Topographical map. If they want the answer in kilometers, what are we going to do? We're going to measure your distance. As you can see, the distance between Trick beacon 352 and the church is 14.5 centimeters. So to get my answer in kilometers, what do? 14.5 centimeters times 0.5. And if we quickly calculate it, 14.5 times 0.5, that gives us 7.25 kilometers. Now, same, if the question asks to calculate the distance in meters, you're going to say 14.5 centimeters times, what's the formula? 500. And let's go and calculate it quickly. And that gives us 7,250 meters. Okay, same principle. If I had to ask you to go and calculate the distance from spot height 641 to Gr12. Use your ruler, measure the distance between the two areas, times it with 0.5 if you want your answer in kilometers, times it with 500 if you want your answer in meters. Now let's just quickly go and have a look at an orthophoto. You're going to use a different set of formulas. Now to get your answer in kilometers, you need to multiply your centimeters with 0.1 to get your answer in kilometers. If you want your answer in meters, you measure the distance with 100. Now let's say, for instance, the question states, calculate the distance from 8 to 7 on the orthophoto in kilometers and meters. You take a ruler, you measure the distance. As you can see, it's 14 centimeters. So if we go back to our notes, let's quickly make a little bit space down here. So 14 centimeters times 0.1, and if we quickly calculate that on our calculator, it gives us 1.4 kilometers. If I want my answer in meters, go 14 centimeters times 100. Once again, go and use your calculator. And that equals 1,400 meters. Now that's how you calculate distance on an orthophoto and a topographical map. Now, in conjunction with this lesson, first of all, once you get your question paper and you get your topographical map, remember you're going to get a topographical map with a scale of 1 to 50,000, and you get an orthophoto with a scale of 1 to 10,000. Now, before you're answering your questions, have a look around. Identify certain things on the map that you can relate to what you've learned in your theory section regarding settlement, climate, and geomorphology. And remember, once you do calculations, that the calculations are going to be different from your topographical map to your orthophoto map because we use different scales. So after this lesson, I hope that you will be able to determine your direction. Remember your 16 cardinal points. Very importantly, first of all, draw your north-south line, a line from where and to, and determine your direction, and be able to calculate distance. Now remember, on a topographical map, 1 to 50,000, your formulas for kilometers is 0.5 for kilometers and 500 for meters. On an orthophoto, the scale is 1 to 10,000. To calculate your distance in kilometers, you take your centimeters and you times it with 0.1. And if you want your answer in meters, you times it with 100. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I'll see you next time around.